Welcome everyone to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Leah, and yeah, we'd rather be reading. Let's be realistic here.
What did you do this week where you'd rather be reading?
Oh, I did so much. But the biggest thing I did was, it was my husband's birthday this past weekend. And my husband's Canadian. And we've lived there in Sweden for quite a while. And he really has not taken very much to many Swedish traditions at all. But one that he has really taken to is Melodifestivalen.
That's bizarre because it's
very bizarre.
It's awful.
It is horrible. And for those of you not initiated in the glory that's Melodifestivalen, this is the Eurovision Song Contest, which is like a European music singing competition, I guess, but it's every country sends one artist. And back in the good old days, and my husband would be like, stop talking about this, because I do this every time we talk about Melodifestivalen. I'm like, back in the good old days, there was just a committee and they just selected a song, and that's the Swedish, contribution to this thing. Mm-hmm. But then someone decided at some point that, hey, we can make money off of this, I guess. That's usually the reason for doing anything, right? Making money off of this. Apart from this, of course, we're just doing this to talk to each other.
No money. We make no money. This only costs us money.
Yes. So, but then they started doing these competitions, these part competitions beforehand. So it's 6 of them just to decide who's going to be in the actual Melodifestivalen, where we're going to decide which one gets sent. So it's 7 of these competitions before the actual big competition. And the Eurovision Song Contest is it's too long. No. It's like a good 5 hours long when it's on TV. And then it's cutting it down also because
but then at least you get to see stuff from different countries and there's a little bit of a variety. But here in Sweden, it's like very standard.
Oh my God,
I think that they're like, how can we be the exact same as last year?
But I think the problem really is that all of the songs are written by the same people. Like if you actually pay attention to this competition, it's like song written by Peter Andersson, and then song written by Peter Andersson, and then...
And do you know what that Peter Andersson can't do? Speak English.
No.
So,
oh my God, no.
The English, the grammar within the songs, it's like, who wrote this? How did you not cross this by somebody who is an English-speaking person?
This is still my pet peeve of Melodifestivalen. This is the thing I cannot do. There was a song that won the Swedish Melodifestivalen, was our actual contribution to the Eurovision Song Contest, which was called Unbreak.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and the actual song, she sang Unbreak My Sad.
Yes.
Unbreak What Hurts So Bad.
There we go.
And I was like, this makes no sense. This is terrible. We need to stop this. We cannot send this. So then they had to do a remake of it. So the actual version that went to Eurovision actually had a very faint person singing in the background, Undo My Sad. Yeah. And it had Undo My Sad Love. So it was someone singing like very faintly in the background.
No, that is awful.
Oh my God, yes.
And there's the one that was called something Sorry, and it was like grammatically just all over the place, to the point of where people who knew English wrote in to say, this is not proper grammar. If I were sorry. If I was sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I kind of like that song though. It was catchy, and he was very young, the kid. And he wrote it himself. He was like 16 when he competed, and he wrote most of it himself, actually. Well, I'm fiercely protective of this particular song I hear, though. But the Undo crap was terrible.
No.
And all the ones, there's been one woman, I'm sure she's going to come back this year because, well, we're not through this thing yet. We have another few weekends of this stuff to go, like 3 or 4 of them. But there's been this woman who's been doing this every year for the past few years, and she always has a song where they take an English expression, but it's like they don't know what it actually means.
They don't know what it means. Right.
So they use it completely wrong throughout the song. Yeah. So watching this thing, because it was my husband's birthday, I had to be nice and actually watch this thing.
And of all things he wanted to watch was this.
It was this. Yeah, it was Melodifestivalen.
And you guys went away. So you were at a hotel and then decided at this hotel we are going to stay inside of the room and watch Melodifestivalen.
This is the truth. This is what happened.
Did you read during it?
No, I wasn't allowed. It was I was only allowed to use my phone to vote, because this is a thing in Melodifestivalen.
And to message me about...
I was messaging you, but only Melodifestivalen related things. Yeah. I was monitored. So this was what I would much rather have been reading. So what about you?
I had a heavy weekend of teacher training for my yoga studio, but that was actually kind of fun. And then I babysat our neighbor kids, which was also great fun. And you know what I did during Melody Festival? I braided their hair, like these crazy cool, like fish braids that take so long. Yeah. So I was meditating, braiding while Melody Festival was going on. But it's all for the kids. And the kids love it because everything's very sparkly and shiny.
Oh, yeah.
And super over-the-top costumes and things like that. So I was like, wow, Mom, look at her dress. And I'm like, don't look at her dress. You will never be allowed to wear a dress like this.
But did you mean like the little robot thing? That one was pretty cool. I kind of like that one.
No.
Anyways.
But my husband thought that, we need to defrost our freezer. So during that, I had way much rather be reading.
Yeah, but that's boring.
It was very boring. It was like come and clean out the bins and decide what we don't need is too old from the freezer. Okay. Do you know why he needed to defrost the freezer? Because the noise is too loud, he says. And so he woke up one night and it was like 2:00 and he's like, do you hear that? And I was like, is somebody breaking into our house? Is somebody here? I had immediate anxiety. No, it's the freezer making too much noise. And then he gets like super grumpy and he's like, this effing freezer, F, all of these F words. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I can sleep through this.
You mean F word like freezer, right?
No,
that's not the word you used.
That wasn't the word. Okay, so that's what I would do. That's what I would have rather.
But you know what else we did though this week? We finished the book. We finished it. We finished Send Me There.
The Heartless. We finished it. It's done. I can't.
Oh
can you believe that it's finished? Because I'm having like a little bit of, after we have babies, by the way, after you give labor, you have these like these ghost kicks. I have like these ghost reactions where I have to continue to listen to this book. Like,
no.
As if it's not really
I have let it go to the point where I'm like, what actually happened in that book? Because I might need to reread it just to refresh myself here. But this, I actually, I couldn't read it. I had to listen to it. And we talked in the last episode about the audiobook version versus the actual ebook version and how the narrative, and honestly, being forced to listen to it. Last time I listened to half of it and it was by choice because
didn't have time to sit
I had other
read.
stuff I had to read. Yeah. But this time I had to listen to it. And I figured out why the last 2 hours of book 2 was so long. And also why this one, even though it wasn't that long, felt like it was at least like 4 million hours.
It was tough to it was tough to stick to it this time because of the way that the narrator was reading it. Not at all about the story whatsoever.
No,
it's just about how the narrator.
And this you brought this up already when you listened to the first book. Like she sounds like Siri, and I figured out why she sounds like Siri, and it's because she sounds like she recorded every sentence individually, and she drags out the last word. Yeah. So it feels like it's the last word of the chapter of the book. I don't know, of something. And every single time, and you can actually try it if you listen to this book and try to say the end
after every sentence,
and it works.
It really does, because she sounds like so confident at the end of the sentence, and then you're like, the end.
Yeah.
And you have enough time to say the end before the next sentence starts.
Because then the break between the sentences is slightly too long. So I find that this book, why it was a little bit draining to listen to, it's because it's a bit of a roller coaster. Because at the end of every sentence, I'm like, oh, it's finished. And then I have to be that then she keeps talking. And this little surprise, every single sentence draws my energy. It does.
You're on a roller coaster of emotions. What? It's done? It's not done? It's done? It's not done.
And also I have time to think, this is a weird way to end a book. Oh no, it's not over. This is a weird way. Oh, it's not. And it keeps going like that, which I think was really what it took away from the story for me. I feel like I would have actually enjoyed this book a lot more if I gotten to read it by myself, because I found it to be hard to follow just because of these long spaces in between the sentences. There was no flow to it the way she was reading.
In audiobook. I agree. And I would say, like, after listening to all three, I would recommend that you read this book because the story is cool. There's a lot of stories inside of stories inside of stories, and it's a big plot. Like super, super creative. And I said to you a few times, she could have made 3 books out of all of the ideas that were, like 3 more stories out of all the ideas that came into this book. But I would have rather read it than listened to it. And I would recommend any of you who want to read these books by Sara Wolf.
Yes.
Bring me their hearts, find me their bones, send me their souls. Read it. Buy the book and read the book because it's a really good story. But listening to it was a bit tougher.
Yeah, it was. So what happened in the last book?
Yeah, okay, spoiler time.
Super summary?
I don't have a super summary other than, but I'm stuck on the tree. I'm stuck on her.
So there's trees. In this book, there's trees. There's at least 2 trees.
There's 3 trees.
There's 3 trees?
There's a bone tree, a glass tree, and a soul tree.
Okay.
The tree of souls.
I felt like the bone tree and the glass tree together were the tree of souls.
Yeah, but the tree of souls was the one where, like, you look up and the limbs are as wide as rivers.
Okay. I think I missed that part too.
Oh, you did?
I got really bogged down by the Valkyrex section scene.
Oh, yes. Okay, so what happened in this book is Zara and Lucian fall in love.
Yeah, even though he did say that they would be enemies forever if she went with Varya. This is completely forgotten, by the way, in the beginning of book 3.
You need to let go of all of your continuity issues. But so he does forgive her because they're in love. They make love in this book, and they also get engaged.
Yes, even though she says, I will never marry you. Marriage is a stupid institution. And then he's like, 2 pages later, he's like, marry me. She's like, oh, yes, please.
But that was wonderful. I actually loved the engagement. And then and he had a ring for her and everything. Yeah. And then afterwards, Malachite was like, what? You didn't tell me this? He was like super jealous. He's very much in love with Lucian. We got that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Or Sarah. But I think it was the fact that they told Fionn. Because she noticed the ring. So they told Fionn, and then he was like, what? You told her before really us?
He was like super sour about it.
Yeah, he was not happy.
But so they get engaged. That's their storyline. Then the bigger story was that now they need to merge the trees or destroy the trees. So that was the big decision making. Now Zara, typical her, makes decisions for herself and then doesn't tell anybody about what she's going to do or consult anybody at all about what she's going to do.
She continues the theme of this book. Sarah knows best.
Sarah knows best.
Even though she is self-deprecating the whole way through.
Yes,
but she still knows best that she will decide for everyone.
Yeah, so she decided that the best way, I mean, of course, this is a super summary. There's a lot more that happens in this book.
So much happens.
So much happens. So many characters are introduced in book 3 also that are like of different worlds. Very cool people.
You did a super summary. I feel like you sent me one. I'm gonna have to find it. Yeah.
But it was like halfway through. You were like, I think I might be losing my place here. What happened in this chapter? And I was like, oh, let me summarize it for you. Yeah, but I did send you something, but it wasn't of the entire book. So Zara decides that she's going to take it upon herself to combine the trees, which then she understands that when you combine the trees or when you make any decision or when you die, like true death, that you're never gone. You're never truly gone. Nice. Okay, so I did give you
You had 2 hours left, though. So
I had 2 hours left. But I said basically a heartless girl and her witch prince boyfriend, polymath friend, archduchess friend, and beneath her prince bodyguard try to stop the powerful witch princess sister lover from taking over the world. Their solution is to destroy the bone tree, glass tree, and soul tree, but the heartless girl, who is also a Valkyrax and something else altogether, plans to combine the trees and merge with them to save the world.
Yeah, and this is honestly pretty much what happens.
Yeah, that is what happens. But so she merges with the tree, because that's the decision-making that came to place. And then she becomes one with the tree, and everyone else gets saved, and then democracy happens throughout.
And I told you so.
Leah predicted democracy. I was like, no. I did not see democracy coming. But really, truly democracy happened.
Oh, yes.
And I loved the
Democracy
way
will
that
always win in the
Lucian
end.
ruled. But then, so Zara's in a tree for 3 years.
Yeah.
And Varia gets healed from being evil witch. And her and Fionn have a baby together, magically.
Varia is no longer magic, isn't she?
She's not magic.
No, so how can she magic a baby with Fionn?
I don't know, but they're both girls, and there are some things that need to happen.
Girls and girls can have babies.
Yeah, but that's a cool world.
Yeah.
I approve. Stamp of approval.
Can boys and boys have babies too? Because I would like to see a pregnant boy. That would be hilarious.
They don't have wombs, but like maybe in this world boys can have wombs.
Girls don't have seed. I don't know, like.
I know.
Yeah, there's something. There's magic at play here for sure.
There's definitely magic. So they have a baby together.
Maybe Lucian magic the baby.
I hope so. Let's go with that. Mm-hmm. So they have a baby together. Yes. Malachite is...
And they call him Saren.
They call him Saren. That was a cool name.
Yeah, they wanted, because they talk about it how Varia had promised to name her first child after Zara. And then she was like, well, what if it's a boy? Then you guys are going to have to go with Zaren, which you probably won't like. And then... Yeah.
But they named him Saren. And he's 3 now. Yeah. And there are a lot of democracy going on with a lot of different types of creatures and people. Mm-hmm. And everyone is sort of, that we use this word in Swedish, lagom. This like very happy medium society where there's not too much hierarchy. There's not there's no slaves or anything. Everybody is just living this wonderful middle life, and
it's kind of like the 1% milk, like the 2% milk. Or what is it? Like it's the in between.
It's the in between. But I love it. Great ending to the story, I think. But then what happens is all of a sudden, 3 years later,
she just comes back.
She just comes back.
I don't know where. There's no explanation on how.
We don't know.
We don't know how she got there.
I was like, what? I accepted that she was a tree now. Did you accept it? I accepted.
I think I actually missed when she became a tree because
what?
I mean, there was lots of things happening there at the end, and then it was like epilogue, and I'm like, oh, this is an epilogue, and then I just kind of realized I hadn't been listening too much.
Oh no! But it was a big deal that she became a tree, or one with the tree, we could say, because she couldn't hear. She knew everything.
Yeah.
She was like one with the world, with the earth. And that was a beautiful thing. And I thought that was going to be like the massive sacrifice of the book, was that we were going to lose the main character because she's saving the world. But then she just came back. How did she get out of the tree? And how is she now whole with her heart? The tree maybe put her back together and then spat her out? Like, I don't...
Did she lose her Valkyrex part of herself too?
Yeah,
or is that
I don't know.
We don't know. Sarah Wolf, you're going to have to answer some questions here first, because we have
How did she get out of the tree?
How did she get out of the tree?
What is she now? Is she just pure human?
What happened to Vlorison?
What happened to Vlorison?
We need to know.
I love him.
Can you just write a story about Vlorison?
Can you write a story about Vlorison?
And that he can... story and just send it to us? We'll read it.
And can he also then become a human man? Because I really want to see what he looks like.
You slightly break up Lucian and Sarah so that Sarah can be with Vlorison?
Because I've been hoping for that love triangle for a very long time.
And then we can have Malachite Lucian hooking up.
There we go.
They can just be like a little detour, and then, I don't know. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Please. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
We're on first name basis now. I don't know why, but I feel like I know you. I've read all your books.
But these books are great. I recommend them, of course, to read, not so much to listen to. But if you have to have some time in the car, listen to it and then say the end after every sentence. Oh, and we also came up with this brilliant idea to have a drinking game based on how many times Zara dies.
Oh, yes.
But you will get wasted.
Oh my god, yes. We had to try to think of alternative drinks like coffee.
And I was like, I will never sleep.
But she dies so many times.
A lot.
Oh my god, yes.
There's a lot of dying. So very much you could also read this with a bunch of friends, and every time she dies, have a drink, and it'll be a blast of a night.
Yes, for sure. So we are actually done now with the Sara Wolf, what we refer to as the Heartless trilogy, which I don't know if anyone else is referring to it as that, but we are. And we have picked our next book, so we're going to be moving on. We're leaving the Heartless world of Valkyrexes and royalty and moving into another kind of royalty world in A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. So we're going to start off, like we should, by judging this book fully by its cover.
Okay. What does the cover look like? There is a dark prince king that has a lot of shadow swirling around him.
I'm guessing he's the Elf King. It's kind of on the cover. It says here, deal with the Elf King. So we're going to just go ahead and assume that the dark, swirly guy here is the Elf King.
And then in front of him is this, like, Jessica Rabbit-looking woman with red hair and full lips in a really fancy dress.
Yeah, and she's holding a flower, and she seems to be doing something here with her hands. Mm-hmm. So there's roses and stuff. And he seems to really like her. I don't know, she seems a little bit indifferent towards him.
She just seems like, this is my sexy face.
Maybe.
Yeah.
She's more, it's more of a mannequin face, I find.
Oh.
Yeah, look.
My sexy face is mannequin-like also.
I have dead eyes. So what do we think this book is going to be about? Well, clearly it's going to be about a deal with the Elf King, because this is in the title. But what kind of deal? What do you reckon? Just based on
it looks like a dark deal right now, because he's super dark with lots of swirly shades. So it looks like maybe she's going to be captured by him and then use this rose. Is that the Beauty and the Beast thing where the rose petals come off? So she tries to make him good, but it looks like maybe he's going to make her evil.
Yeah. All right. We are going to tell you a little bit what happened, because we also did read a few chapters. I read 3 chapters.
And I read 4 chapters by accident.
We're really into this one. I'm really enjoying it so far.
We are both reading it. Neither of us are listening to it.
Yes. So, I did write a little summary of what's happening in the first 3 chapters. So I thought I would... Well, I had a issue first.
Oh, no.
I started with, but it was more a question, I think. But
continuity time with Leah.
So it literally starts with initial thoughts halfway through chapter 2. It says they live a long time, but they still have to give up a queen every 100 years. If they live so long, why the new queen so frequently? This was my first issue, but I think this actually gets answered later. So. Basically, to summarize the first 3 chapters, Luella is our main girl. She's very busy. She doesn't have time for stuff. She's like a healer. She doesn't have time for love. She doesn't have time for marriage. She has no time for
She's like a pharmacist, basically.
Yeah. She is the healer, and the town has paid for her education. She feels very much indebted to the town. And she has this friend, Luke, who she's known since she was a child. And he's also something referred to as a keeper, because the town they live on is on the border of this thing referred to as the Fade.
Yeah.
And the keepers keep the Fade, and they keep people out away from the Fade. And he's assigned to her as a watcher, because every 100 years or so, a new human queen will be born, I guess, in this little town where they live in. And she will show magic skills, and then she will be trained to become the queen of the Elf King. And this is some kind of deal that's been going on for 3,000 years or so. And the watchers will watch all the girls through a certain period of times in their life, just to see if anyone of them manifests their magical abilities. So Luke has been her watcher, and he has given her gifts. He's given her a kettle, and he's given her a necklace. And the necklace is secret, so she doesn't show anyone this necklace.
Because it has elven powers.
Yeah, and he has a similar charm that's on the necklace as a bracelet, and that's his keeper bracelet. So we know it's got something to do with magic. But because she's not a keeper, she's not supposed to have this necklace. That's why she keeps it secret. And the story starts with them having not been able to find this human queen. They're a year overdue. She was supposed to have been found and handed over to the Elf King last year, but, well, they can't find her. So things are getting a little bit dicey here. It's not good. People are getting sick. And the Elf King is getting impatient. So, and the council and the keepers as well. And in all of this, Luke decides here and then to kiss her and proclaim his ever-dying love for her.
Yeah,
say to everyone that they're marrying, even though he didn't ask her. Which, rude. You cannot just go around telling people...
But I love you, so we're getting married.
Yeah, but you cannot jump to conclusions like this. It's not okay. You have to ask. You can't just assume that people will marry you just because they love you. And when he kisses her, she doesn't feel excited. She feels nothing. She's wanted it forever and ever and ever.
But she's like, oh, this was flat, like kissing your brother kind of thing.
Anything. And then the Elf King shows up and he's wearing iron. And right here I'm like, look, if you're going to go with these rules here for this book, make sure that you're consistent. Which, so far, so good. They are consistent. Elf can touch iron and they can use iron. This is fine.
Okay.
He's wearing an iron crown. And he notices Luella because she's healing this girl who's fainted. And he's
with magic herbs. Not with powers.
Herbs. And then, but... They were just regular herbs, but I think she's good at it in a way that kind of signifies that she's different. And then he rips her necklace off and she's just kind of blows up with all this magical power. And it turns out that Luella is our human queen. Twist? No, quite predictable. We saw this one coming. Yeah. I'd say, what do you think?
No, of course.
And that's where the third chapter stops.
So this is what happened. I was like, wow, all these magical powers. And I just kept reading. And I did not realize that I had read the 4th chapter until I saw chapter 5. And I was like, whoops. And then I couldn't undo what I knew in chapter 4. So I went ahead and predicted from chapter 4. I was too consumed by the story because it was like really juicy at that time.
And it is, and it's really good.
Super
it sucks
juicy.
you in. I was very excited reading this. Honestly.
So she gets engaged. She gets engaged now after the bracelet gets ripped off, and the Elf King says, "You're the human queen, and now we're gonna get married. Come,
like literally like this.
You're coming to my homeland." And we're going to get married. So she gets engaged twice in 4 chapters. And nothing excites me more than a love triangle. I think that we might get a love triangle in this book. I'm so happy. Finally, 20 books this year and not one love triangle.
Which is unbelievable. I feel like there's always love triangles.
So my prediction is Lou, that's what I call her now because we're friends, is a human queen. And she's a healer in more ways than she knows right now. This plague thing is in both lands. And Elf land needs her to heal them. She marries the Elf King, but then something goes terribly wrong. Maybe an evil side lover of the king who feels she should be the rightful queen is going all Psycho X and creating this illness. I don't know, maybe connection to Luke there. Because I feel like he's going to be bitter and then he turns evil from now on because she has basically rejected his proposal and now he's in jail. And then she goes and gets married, or is going to go get married, I can only assume, to the Elf King. So he's sitting in jail, I can only assume, and is super pissed. So he's going to turn evil, I predict. Yep. But I predict their love triangle ends here. And hopefully there's going to be another one coming up in this book. And the saving the world begins. Possibly a god intervening, or maybe the regular humans are starting an uprising with the backing of some powerful someone, ending with Lou saving the world. That's my prediction of this book.
That's your prediction. My prediction, because we stopped in chapter 3, I didn't get to actually go into Elfland here or see the marriage. My reading here stopped when everything went white. But I did read the description beforehand, which is it's a lot of information in that description, like a bit too much, I'd say. Keep some suspense, people, or at least write spoiler at the beginning. So I know that there will be love in this story, and I also know that there will be some artful, tasteful smut from the description here. I believe that Luella is the true queen, not just a human queen. So my prediction is that she's the true queen, and that the deal that was made because apparently this deal where they have to get a human queen, it's to help the elf land for one way or another.
Yeah.
And the deal that was made has probably helped the elf land and the human world, but I think it's been more of like a band-aid on a broken bone kind of situation. It's not gone to the root cause of this issue here. And Luella, she seems crafty and driven and all that, so I'm sure she's going to find the underlying issue with what's wrong with the worlds and why this deal needed to be done in the first place, and she will heal the land. And then she will thaw the cold elf king, and with his love she will bring in a new era. And for this one, I'm not actually predicting any democracy because, elf kings I don't think are very prone to democracy.
Okay.
But I think there might be a love triangle with Luke and the king based on the chapter 3. But I think we also all know who will win this one. And then I actually hashtag Team King here.
Team King!
So we don't know his name yet. Know where I stand on this.
And I'm excited to continue reading this.
Me too.
And you went way ahead of me, so...
Well, yeah, I didn't stop. I had to actually write all this down, so I wouldn't know anything else what's going on.
But you have continued,
oh my god, yes.
We will finish this and talk...
I'm on chapter 23, so, hey!
Woohoo! And we'll finish this and talk about it next week, so follow along with us. Get your copy of Deal with the Elf King by...
Elise Kova. Yes.
Perfect. And so you could give us your predictions of what you think is going to happen and who you think she's going to have a love triangle with. Hopefully that there is a love triangle. Like, don't let me down. Don't let me down, Elise. This needs to happen.
I maybe a love triangle. I can still see a love triangle happening. Honestly, yes.
Good. High hopes.
High hopes. So that's it for today, I think.
That's it for today.
Happy reading and stay reading.
Stay reading. Hashtag stay reading. Is that going to be our cool ending now?
Oh, for sure.
Stay reading.
Stay reading.
I'm Jerrica.
I'm Leah.
See you later.
See you. Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica Saron and Leah Sanfer. Theme music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and you can also email us on we'drathebereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. Bye.